In an age defined by technological advancement and rapid change, the ancient philosophy of Buddhism continues to provide profound insights into the human condition. Born over 2.5 millennia ago in the Indian subcontinent, Buddhism has woven its philosophies into the fabric of societies across the globe, and its teachings remain as relevant today as they were at their inception. Buddhism at its core is not just a religion, but a comprehensive guide to understanding and navigating the complexities of life. It offers a lens through which we can examine our experiences, emotions, and interactions, providing a framework to comprehend the world around us and our place within it. The essence of Buddhism lies in its universal appeal, transcending boundaries of culture, geography, and time. A central tenet of Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths, a profound doctrine that elucidates the nature of human suffering and the means to alleviate it. These truths, while seemingly simple, provide a profound and nuanced understanding of life's most challenging aspects. They offer insights into the human condition, our struggles, our desires, and most importantly, our potential for liberation and peace. In our fast-paced, ever-evolving world, the Four Noble Truths serve as a compass, guiding us through the tumultuous seas of modern life. They shed light on our shared human experiences, helping us navigate the complexities of contemporary existence. Whether it's grappling with the pressures of societal expectations, the relentless pursuit of material success, or the quest for happiness in an increasingly chaotic world, these ancient truths provide a roadmap to inner peace and contentment. As we delve into the core of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, we invite you to reflect on their relevance in your own life. Consider the role they could play in shaping your understanding of the world, your interactions with others, and your journey towards a life of peace and fulfillment. As we embark on this exploration of the Four Noble Truths, remember that the wisdom of Buddhism, like a lamp in the darkness, can illuminate the path to understanding and serenity in our modern world. The first noble truth, dukkha, acknowledges the pervasive nature of suffering in our lives. This suffering, or dukkha, is an intrinsic part of our existence, a facet of our human experience that is as unavoidable as it is universal. The modern world, with its relentless pace and constant change, is a fertile ground for dukkha. It manifests in various forms, from the stress of juggling multiple roles and responsibilities to the dissatisfaction stemming from unmet expectations or the sense of loss when faced with impermanence. Consider the daily grind of life, the ceaseless cycle of tasks and to-dos. The pressure to perform, to succeed, to continuously stay ahead. It takes a toll. It creates a subtle yet persistent undercurrent of dissatisfaction, a nagging feeling that we're never quite where we want to be, never quite as happy or fulfilled as we feel we should be. This, dear listeners, is dukkha. Then there is the suffering born of loss and impermanence. We strive, we gather, we build, yet everything we hold dear, from our accomplishments and possessions to our relationships and our very lives, is transient. The loss of a loved one, the end of a job, or the simple passing of time, each brings with it a unique form of suffering. But dukkha isn't limited to these grand themes of life and death, success and failure. It's also found in the small, mundane moments of our lives. The frustration of a traffic jam, the disappointment of a cancelled plan, the unease of a challenging conversation, these too are instances of dukkha. Now you may wonder, why focus on suffering? Isn't it a bit gloomy? Well, the intent is not to foster a pessimistic worldview, but rather to cultivate a clear-eyed recognition of reality. By acknowledging the presence of suffering, we begin to confront and understand it. We see it not as a personal failing or a cruel twist of fate, but as a universal human experience. We all suffer in one way or another. It's a part of our shared human condition, a common thread that binds us all. And in recognizing this shared experience of suffering, we can begin to foster compassion, empathy, and understanding towards ourselves and others. So let's not shy away from dukkha. Let's not deny or ignore it. Instead, let's acknowledge it, let's understand it. For it is only by recognizing suffering, as discomforting as it may be, that we take the first step on the path to understanding the human condition. The second noble truth, samudaya, explores the roots of our suffering. In essence, it tells us that the cause of our suffering is rooted within us, in our desires and ignorance. Now you might be wondering, how does this ancient wisdom translate to our modern lives? Let's consider something as common as our thirst for materialism. In our pursuit of the latest gadgets, luxury cars, or designer clothes, we often find ourselves in a never-ending cycle of wanting more. We're caught in a loop, where obtaining one object of desire only fuels the longing for the next. This is exactly what Buddhism refers to as tanha, or thirst. It's a flame that's constantly fed by our desires, leading to a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, a state of suffering. Now let's turn our attention to the other root of suffering, ignorance. In the context of Buddhism, ignorance isn't about lack of knowledge or education. Rather, it's a lack of awareness, a misunderstanding of the true nature of things. In our fast-paced modern lives, we often find ourselves disconnected from our true selves, lost in the hustle and bustle, and detached from the reality of our existence. This lack of self-awareness and understanding of the world leads us to make choices and decisions that ultimately contribute to our suffering. At this point, you might be thinking, well, that's all a bit heavy. Is there no respite from this suffering? And that's where the beauty of Buddhism lies. It doesn't leave us in despair. Instead, it offers a beacon of hope, a way out of this cycle of suffering. But before we get to that, let's delve a little deeper into how our modern lifestyle choices and societal pressures contribute to our suffering. We live in a society where we're constantly bombarded with expectations to succeed, to conform, to achieve. We're told that happiness lies in a prestigious job, a perfect body, a dream house. But in chasing these external markers of success, we often lose sight of our inner peace and happiness. The pressure to keep up with societal norms and expectations can lead to immense stress and anxiety, further deepening our state of suffering. So what's the solution? How do we break free from this cycle of suffering? The answer lies in understanding and accepting the true nature of life and our existence. It's about acknowledging that life is impermanent, that nothing is everlasting. It's about learning to let go of our attachments and desires and finding contentment in the present moment. Unraveling the causes of our suffering is a crucial step in our journey towards liberation. As we move forward, remember that the path may not be easy, but the promise of liberation and inner peace makes the journey worthwhile. Nirodha, the third noble truth, offers a beacon of hope, the cessation of suffering. This profound concept is not about the denial or avoidance of suffering, but rather it's about understanding and transcending it. It tells us that the end of suffering is not merely a fanciful dream, but a tangible reality within our grasp. Let's take the example of a community that was once ravaged by conflict and violence. The people lived in a constant state of fear and despair, their lives marked by suffering. However, through the teachings of the Buddha, they began to realize that their suffering was not an inevitable fate, but something they had the power to overcome. They learned to replace hatred with compassion, ignorance with understanding, and fear with courage. Slowly but surely, their community transformed, becoming a place of peace and harmony. This is a testament to the power of Nirodha, the cessation of suffering. But how does one arrive at this state of cessation? It isn't about suppressing our emotions or ignoring our problems. Rather, it's about facing our suffering head-on, understanding its roots and freeing ourselves from its grip. This requires a deep sense of self-awareness and introspection. It's about recognizing that our thoughts, emotions, and actions are interconnected, and that our suffering often stems from our own perceptions and responses to the world around us. Consider the story of a man who was constantly tormented by his past mistakes. He lived in a state of perpetual regret, unable to find peace. However, when he came across the teachings of Buddha, he learned about the concept of Nirodha. He realized that his suffering was not rooted in his past actions, but in his inability to let go of them. He began to practice mindfulness, focusing on the present instead of dwelling on the past. Gradually, he found his suffering subsiding, replaced by a newfound sense of peace and contentment. This story serves as a powerful reminder that the cessation of suffering is not about running away from our problems, but about facing them with courage and understanding. It's about acknowledging our pain, understanding its roots, and gradually freeing ourselves from its grip. The journey towards the cessation of suffering is not an easy one. It requires courage, patience, and perseverance. It's a journey of self-discovery and transformation, where we learn to let go of our fears, insecurities, and misconceptions and embrace a life of peace, compassion, and understanding. The cessation of suffering, while challenging, is within our reach. By understanding the root causes of our suffering and cultivating the right attitudes and behaviors, we can transcend our suffering and experience true peace and happiness. That's the power of Nirodha, the third noble truth, a beacon of hope in our quest for a life of serenity and fulfillment. The fourth noble truth, Magga, outlines the Eightfold Path, a guide to ending suffering. This path isn't a rigid journey with a definitive beginning and end. Instead, it's a dynamic, ongoing exploration of personal growth and understanding. It's a roadmap, a compass, guiding us towards a life of contentment and peace. The Eightfold Path comprises of right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each of these steps is not a commandment, but a recommendation, a suggestion for living a more fulfilled and meaningful life. Let's delve into each step. First, right understanding. It's about seeing the world as it really is, free from illusions or misconceptions. It's recognizing the impermanent nature of life, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the reality of suffering. In today's world of misinformation, right understanding asks us to seek the truth, to question and to learn. Next, we have right thought. This encourages us to cultivate a mind of compassion, renunciation, and goodwill towards all. In an age of divisiveness and conflict, right thought asks us to foster empathy and understanding. Right speech, the third step, is about speaking truthfully, kindly, and constructively. At a time when our words can reach thousands in an instant, the call for right speech is more relevant than ever. Fourth, right action. This encompasses ethical conduct, respecting the rights and welfare of all living beings. In a world where our actions can have far-reaching impacts, right action urges us to act with responsibility and integrity. Right livelihood, the fifth step, encourages us to earn our living in a way that doesn't harm others. In a world driven by profit, right livelihood reminds us to consider the ethical implications of our work. The sixth step, right effort, is about cultivating and maintaining positive states of mind. In our fast-paced, high-pressure society, right effort teaches us the importance of mental resilience and positivity. Right mindfulness, the seventh step, calls us to be fully present and aware in each moment. In an age of constant distraction, right mindfulness invites us to experience life fully, moment by moment. Finally, right concentration. This refers to the mental discipline required for meditation. In a world that often values multitasking, right concentration asks us to focus, to delve deeply into a single task or thought. These 8 steps are not a linear progression, but an interwoven web, each step supporting and reinforcing the others. The Eightfold Path is a holistic approach to living, a guide to navigating life's ups and downs, and a beacon guiding us towards peace and contentment. The fourth noble truth, Magga, presents this Eightfold Path as the way to end suffering. It's a journey of understanding, of ethical living, of mental discipline. It's a path that we can all walk, regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs, a path that leads us not only towards the cessation of suffering, but towards a life of profound peace and fulfillment. The Eightfold Path offers a practical guide to navigating life's challenges and finding inner peace. As we conclude our journey through the Four Noble Truths, let's reflect on the wisdom they offer. We've navigated the turbulent waters of dukkha, understanding that suffering is a universal experience. We've delved into samudaya, exploring how our desires and ignorance fuel these hardships. Yet we found hope in nirodha, the reassuring promise that suffering can cease. Lastly, we charted the course of Magga, the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to liberating ourselves from the cycle of suffering. Throughout this journey, we've seen that these ancient teachings aren't relics of a bygone era, but timeless wisdom that resonates in our fast-paced modern world. They offer a mirror to reflect on our lives, our choices, and our search for true happiness. They challenge us to live mindfully, to understand our suffering, and to strive for a peaceful existence. How might your life change if you truly understood and lived by the Four Noble Truths?